They weren't even meant to be out there. The shift was nearly done, the sun already sinking behind the endless rows of corn along Route 19. Officer Caleb Turner drove with one hand, the other absent-mindedly scratching behind Bones's ear, a daily ritual that marked the end of their patrol. Bones, his loyal K9 partner, a sturdy golden-brown German shepherd with sharp, watchful eyes, let out a contented rumble. That's when Caleb noticed it. A battered green Saturn sedan drifting over the center line, correcting, then drifting again. Just enough to set off Caleb's instincts. Not enough for a chase, but enough for a stop. "Just our luck, huh, Bones?" Caleb muttered, flicking on the lights. The Saturn didn't bolt. It eased onto the shoulder, dust swirling around the tires. The driver kept his hands on the wheel, head bowed. From the outside, it looked like any other rural traffic stop. But Bones knew better. The moment Caleb put the cruiser in park, Bones rose in the back seat, a deep, guttural growl rumbling from his chest. Not playful, not even a warning. This was his something's wrong growl. Caleb hesitated, glancing in the mirror.
"Easy, boy."
"Not yet," he whispered. But Bones kept growling. Caleb approached the car, hand near his belt but not on his weapon. The window rolled down. The driver looked mid-40s, scruffy beard, faded cap, sweat-soaked shirt despite the mild air. "Evening. You crossed the line a couple times. Everything okay?" Caleb asked. The man nodded too fast. "Yeah, just finished a double shift. Probably just tired. Heading home. License and registration?" The man fumbled, hands shaking. Caleb caught the scent of old sweat and engine oil. Something felt off. Not panic, not aggression, but a forced calm. Back at the cruiser, Bones was barking now. Not the let me out bark, not the I smell food bark. This was sharp, focused, aimed at the Saturn's trunk. Caleb's stomach tightened. He handed the documents back, glancing at the rear of the car. "Mind if I take a quick look around?" "Just routine." The man stiffened. "Look, I didn't do anything. You've got my license." "Just standard, sir." "Could you pop the trunk?" "I'd rather not. Got work stuff back there. Tools, chemicals, hazardous." That was enough. Caleb opened the cruiser's rear door. Bones sprang out, leading Caleb straight to the Saturn's trunk. Before the driver could protest, Bones was up on the bumper, barking furiously, claws scraping the paint, eyes locked. "Sir, step out of the vehicle," Caleb called, hand on his holster. "Now?" "You got no reason for this," the man shouted. Caleb kept his voice steady. The dogs alerted. "That's probable cause. Out of the car." The man hesitated, then unlocked the doors and stepped out, hands raised. Caleb turned to the trunk. "Back," he told Bones, who reluctantly moved aside. With the key still in the ignition, Caleb pressed the trunk release. There was a click, then a heavy groan as he lifted the lid. It was dark inside. Tools, a tarp, an old suitcase, and then a whimper. Not an animal, a child. Caleb froze. He pulled back the tarp. There, curled in the corner, was a boy, maybe 6. Pale, trembling, eyes red from crying, lips cracked. Duct tape clung to one wrist. A half-empty juice box lay beside him. Caleb's voice broke. "We need EMTs now." The boy blinked. "I want my mom." Caleb gently lifted him out. "You're safe now. I promise." Behind him, Bones stood silent, just watching. Caleb knew that look. Bones had known all along, and Caleb hadn't listened soon enough. Backup arrived within minutes. The suspect, later identified as Todd Grimley, a maintenance worker from a neighboring county, was cuffed and put in a separate car. He said nothing, just stared blankly. The child, Ethan Mullen, had been missing for 8 days. His face was on every telephone pole, every diner bulletin board, every desperate Facebook post. No one expected him to be alive. But he was, because of Bones. Caleb rode with Ethan in the ambulance, holding his hand. Bones followed in the cruiser, eyes never leaving the flashing lights. At the hospital, the doctor's words chilled Caleb. "If you'd found him 6 hours later, I don't think he would have made it." Caleb couldn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard Bones barking. Not in fear, but with certainty. He sat on his porch long after midnight, radio silent, wind rustling the fields, Bones at his feet, calm now. But Caleb wasn't. There were questions no one could answer. Why was Ethan in that car? Where had Grimley kept him for 8 days? Was there anyone else? Caleb looked at Bones, who stared into the dark. "You knew," Caleb whispered. "You knew before I did." Bones didn't move. Tomorrow the investigation would begin. Tonight Caleb would listen, just in case Bones had more to say. The hospital hallway reeked of antiseptic and burnt coffee. Officer Caleb Turner stood by the window outside the pediatric ICU, arms folded, radio turned low. Through the glass, he watched a nurse adjust the IV in Ethan's arm. The boy slept, chest rising and falling under a thin blanket. His face was cleaner, but the dark circles under his eyes lingered. Trauma clung to him. A doctor stepped out, clipboard in hand. "He's stable," she said quietly. "Dehydrated, malnourished, but no major injuries." Caleb caught the hesitation. No injuries, but plenty of unknowns. "Has he talked?" Caleb asked. She shook her head. "He's scared, confused. Doesn't remember anything before the trunk. Not unusual for kids who've been isolated or drugged." The word hit Caleb hard. Drugged. He hadn't let himself think about that. "We'll run a talk screen. His parents will be here soon. Try not to overwhelm him. Let him come to you." Caleb nodded, mind replaying every moment of the stop. Bones had sensed something. The trunk, the man, the tension. That bark wasn't just noise. It was a warning. His phone buzzed. Sergeant Mallory. "We got an ID on the guy," Mallory said. "Todd Grimley, janitor at a machine shop in Willow Bend. Lives alone. No priors, lease signed 6 weeks ago. We're getting a warrant to search his place." Caleb frowned. "Anything in the car?" "Blood in the back seat. Small amounts. Nothing in the trunk but a tarp and toolbox. No toys, no food wrappers. Just sterile. Like the trunk wasn't the first place he kept the kid." "My thoughts exactly," Mallory replied. "I'll keep you posted." Caleb ended the call and looked through the glass again. The boy shifted in his sleep. Bones waited in the cruiser, parked in the law enforcement lot. Caleb slid into the driver's seat. Bones climbed into the front. "Want to go for a ride?" Caleb asked softly. Bones thumped his tail. Willow Bend felt like another world. Narrow roads, few lights, trees crowding the edges. Grimley's apartment was wedged between a gas station and a tire shop. Half the units boarded up. Detectives waited outside. "You, Caleb?" one asked. "Yeah, place is a dump. No sign of struggle. No evidence the boy was here. But you should see this." Inside, the living room walls were bare except for one, covered in photos. Playgrounds, schools, parking lots, kids, dozens, maybe more. "None of them are Ethan," the detective said. "We're checking missing persons now." Caleb's stomach turned. "These recent?" "Looks like it. No timestamps, but some are from this summer. Recognize anything?" Caleb moved closer. One photo stopped him. Not the child, but the background. A mural from Briar Hill Elementary, where he'd done traffic control. The kid in the photo was maybe 5, holding a blue backpack, standing alone. "He's been prowling schools," Caleb said. "Not just here," the detective added. "Gas receipts from Kansas, Colorado, New Mexico. He's been on the road. No pattern, no ties." "A ghost." Bones barked, pacing toward the back hallway. Caleb followed, hand on his holster. Bones led him to a bedroom door, slightly ajar. Inside, the closet was empty except for a duffel bag. Zip ties, duct tape, wet wipes, and a stack of candy bars. Kidnap gear. No one said it, but they all knew. This wasn't a one-off. Back at the station, Caleb reviewed the dashcam footage. He watched on mute, studying every move. His own, the suspect's, Bones's. Then it clicked. Bones barked loudest not at the trunk, but when the suspect walked past the back bumper, Bones lunged at him. Not the trunk, the man. The dog had sensed something on Grimley. Blood, sweat, fear, something primal. Caleb had misread it. His phone rang. The hospital. "Ethan's awake," the nurse said. "He's asking for the officer with the dog." Caleb felt something shift inside. 10 minutes later, they were back at the hospital. Bones was allowed into the pediatric ward under special clearance. When they entered, Ethan sat up, a faint smile breaking through. "Bones?" he croaked. Caleb knelt by the bed. "Hey, buddy, remember me?" The boy nodded, eyes on the dog. "Can you tell me anything about what happened?" Ethan frowned, thinking, then pointed to a crayon drawing on the table. A house, red roof, big tree, long driveway. The door had 3 locks. "That where he kept you?" Caleb asked. The boy nodded. "The red door. Do you remember where it was?" Ethan shook his head. "Far. I couldn't see outside." Caleb noticed a gas station in the drawing. "Was there a store nearby?" The boy nodded. "With blue ices." Bones barked once, as if in agreement. Caleb turned to the nurse. "I need a map and a list of gas stations that sell blue ices within 100 miles. She raised an eyebrow. "That's specific," he grinned. "It's all I've got. Sometimes that's enough." Caleb hadn't realized how many gas stations sold blue ices until he saw the spreadsheet. Over 100 entries. It was a needle in a haystack, except the needle was a red door, and the haystack was half the state. He rubbed his eyes looking at Bones curled at his feet. Ready to sniff out a miracle? Bones thumped his tail. Let's go hunting. They started with the closest matches. Any gas station within 50 miles of the highway where Grimley was stopped. Caleb narrowed it to 7 locations matching Ethan's drawing. A small building next to a gas station, surrounded by trees, long gravel driveway, red door. The first 3 were nothing. The 4th, off Millersville Drive, was different. The gas station barely operated. 1 pump, flickering lights, a bored teenager at the counter. Next to it, behind pine trees, a gravel driveway led to a rundown property. Halfway down, a building with a red door. Caleb parked at the tree line out of sight and stepped out quietly. Bones followed, alert. Smell anything? Caleb whispered. Bones sniffed, then moved toward the property, slow and deliberate. Caleb followed, hand on his sidearm. No lights, no movement. The place looked abandoned, but that was always a risk. At the edge of the yard, Bones stopped, looked back, then dropped to his belly. His silent alert. Someone was inside. Caleb radioed dispatch. Turner to base. Possible location connected to the Mullen case. Requesting backup at 3840 Millersville Drive. No sirens. Copy. Units en route. The wait felt endless. Bones didn't move. When backup arrived, they formed a perimeter and knocked. No answer, but footsteps inside. Breach! Caleb shouted. The team moved fast. 1 officer kicked in the door. Caleb and Bones swept in. The air reeked of dust and bleach. Cheap folding chairs, a mattress, a space heater, an old fridge, and cages. 3, big enough for a child, all empty. Bones growled, moving to a closet. Caleb yanked the door open. Inside, a man, mid-30s, shaking, holding a taser and a duffel bag. Drop it, Caleb ordered. The man hesitated. Bones barked, deep and threatening. He dropped it. They cuffed him and searched the house. No kids. But what they found was worse. Hundreds of photos, some printed, some Polaroids, some on flash drives labeled with first names. In a locked cabinet, journals, detailed logs of children being moved, names, locations, dates. This wasn't just one man. It was a network. The suspect wouldn't talk. No ID, no phone, but his fingerprints matched a missing person from 7 years ago in Arkansas. Jared Lorne, presumed dead. He wasn't dead. He'd been recruited, brainwashed, or maybe he was always part of it. The FBI arrived within hours. By midnight, the station was a hive of agents, techs, and detectives. Caleb's office became the nerve center. Case files spread across his desk. Dozens of missing children. What you found here, an agent told him, is a trafficking ring. Multi-state, maybe international. This property is just a drop site. Caleb looked at Bones, calm beside the desk. He knew, Caleb muttered. He knew this place was dirty. He's a hell of a dog, the agent replied. That night, Caleb didn't go home. He took Bones to the football field behind the high school. The stands were empty, the lights off, stars overhead. He let Bones run laps, then called him back. I almost missed it, Caleb said. Back on the road, I almost let him drive off. Bones sat, tongue lolling, eyes sharp. I wouldn't have found that kid. Or this place. None of it. Bones tilted his head. I owe you. The next morning, Ethan and his parents waited in the lobby. The boy ran to Bones, hugging his neck. Bones stayed perfectly still, letting him hold on. Caleb knelt beside them. Hey, Ethan, remember that house you drew? Ethan nodded. We found it. And some bad guys. The boy's eyes widened. Did you stop them? We're trying. Because of you, because of your drawing. You helped a lot of kids. His mother wiped her eyes. We can never repay you. Caleb smiled. It wasn't me. It was the dog. Ethan looked at Bones. He's not just a dog. He's a hero. Later, the chief held a press conference. News crews crowded the lot. Caleb stood off to the side, Bones at his feet, while the chief detailed the discovery and praised the operation. But Caleb barely heard it. He was thinking about the red door, the one Ethan drew, the one Bones led him to. He knew this was just the beginning. Caleb hadn't planned to return to Millersville Drive so soon, but the red door haunted him. Even after the arrests, the evidence, the press, there were too many loose ends. The house was cleared by the feds, roped off with tape. But Caleb knew these operations didn't end with one bust. You didn't find a room full of cages and think that was it. Bones sat in the passenger seat as Caleb pulled onto the gravel drive. The red door stood out in the fading light, not just paint but a message. Caleb had seen doors like this before. Red for transport, blue for storage, green for surveillance, a code among traffickers. The house was eerily quiet. The cage room was stripped, the closet empty. Caleb's boots echoed as he moved through the house, Bones close behind. In the kitchen, the fridge was unplugged and open. Nothing inside but a sticky brown stain. Not blood, juice maybe. Then he noticed scratches on the floor behind the fridge. He pulled it away, revealing a vent. Not standard, but custom. Caleb tapped it. Metal not connected to the HVAC. Bones growled. "You smell something?" Caleb asked. Bones's nose was already in the gap, whining, agitated. Caleb shined his flashlight inside. About 2 feet in, the metal gave way to dirt. A crawl space not wide enough for an adult. Maybe a child. "Damn it," Caleb muttered. He called the FBI lead. "Agent Mullins, it's Turner. I need a forensic team back at Millersville. There's a vent behind the fridge leading to a dirt tunnel. On our way." While he waited, Caleb sat on the steps with Bones. "How many more?" he whispered. Bones leaned against his leg. When the FBI arrived, they widened the entrance. What they found chilled everyone. The tunnel was 4 feet tall, running nearly 20 yards underground to a dugout bunker, rough walls, no lights, the smell of rot. Inside were 2 stained mattresses, a crate of granola bars and juice boxes, a filthy teddy bear. No kids. Caleb stood in the entrance, swallowing hard. Someone else had been kept here. Agent Mullins joined him. This was an overflow room, he said, when they didn't have time to move them or were hiding them from law enforcement. They bagged everything: DNA, hair, footprints, and a scrap of paper behind the mattress. A name, Milo, in a child's handwriting. By the next day, analysts matched the name. Milo Jameson, age 7, missing from Knoxville, Tennessee, 2 months ago. Still classified as endangered. Caleb stared at the photo, a freckled boy with crooked glasses and a gap-toothed smile. No known connection to Ethan, Grimley, or Lorne. So how did he end up here? Back at the station, Caleb pinned Milo's photo next to Ethan's on the whiteboard. Beneath them, a web of names, addresses, vehicle tags, flight logs. This was bigger than anyone thought. That evening, Caleb drove to the gas station near Millersville. He needed air. Bones watched him from the back seat. Inside, the same teenage clerk looked up. "Hey, you're that cop, right? From the news?" "Yeah." "Did you find more kids?" Caleb hesitated. "We're working on it." The kid leaned in. "I saw that guy once, the one you arrested. He came in a lot, always bought the same thing, 2 cherry ices and peanut M&Ms. You sure it was him?" "Yeah, I remember faces. Last time he had a kid with him. Little guy, blonde, looked tired. Stayed outside by the vending machines. The guy kept looking over his shoulder. Real sketchy." "What kind of car?" "White pickup. Rust on the back fender. Might have been a Ford." Caleb's heart raced. Grimley's sedan was clean. No pickup registered to him. This was someone else, a second transporter. "You have security cameras?" "Not great, but yeah." Caleb showed his badge. "I need to see the footage." An hour later, he had it. On the grainy screen, a timestamp from 3 weeks ago. A man in a hoodie, balding, early 50s. The camera caught his face long enough for facial recognition. 10 minutes later, the system pinged. Ronald Matz, 52. Former trucker, record for theft and illegal firearms. Last known address in Camden Hills, Arkansas. Caleb printed the image and drove back to the station, pinning Ronald's face next to Grimley's. Bones lay beside the desk, eyes tracking every move. "This is it," Caleb said. 2 men, 2 states, same pattern, same kids." He looked at Bones. "And we're not done." The next morning, frost coated the cruiser windshield. Autumn had arrived, orange leaves lining the streets. Caleb sat on the precinct steps, coffee in hand, Bones curled at his feet. For a moment it felt almost normal, but inside Agent Mullins had set up a command post. The whiteboard stretched across 2 walls. Photos, timelines, receipts, facial recognition hits, Milo's name circled in red. The boys' whereabouts were still unknown, but now they had a lead. Camden Hills, Arkansas. Caleb couldn't stop thinking about it. That's where Matz was last seen. That's where the trail led. "I'm going," Caleb told Mullins. We figured you'd say that." Local PD's briefed. FBI staging 2 miles out from Matz's last known property. We go in quiet. No sirens, no mistakes. "I'm bringing Bones." Of course. They hit the road by mid-morning, a 4-hour drive through winding highways, farmland, forgotten gas stations. Bones sat in the back, pacing at first, then resting, watching the trees roll by. As they neared Camden Hills, the GPS pinged, coordinates tied to Matz's truck. It led them down a cracked two-lane road, dense woods on either side, the kind of place where screams vanished. The property was what you'd expect from a man hiding out, a rusted mobile home behind a locked gate, a shed, a half-collapsed barn. The task force met in a clearing nearby. 10 agents, 2 K9 units, a local deputy. Mullins handed Caleb a headset. "We go in low and slow. Main team hits the front. You and Bones circle wide. Check the outbuildings." "Understood." At 0800, they breached the gate. The main unit approached the front door. Caleb and Bones peeled off, working around the barn. Bones sniffed, tail low, body tense. He stopped near a pile of broken boards, let out a short bark. His alert. Caleb scanned the area. Nothing obvious. Then he saw it. A faint trail weaving through the weeds behind the barn. Bones started walking, nose to the dirt, every step deliberate. They followed the trail into the woods, about 40 yards in, until Bones stopped again, looking up at Caleb. "What is it, boy?" Bones scratched at the base of a mossy tree. Caleb knelt, flashlight in hand. Beneath sticks and leaves, a metal hatch, old and rusted. He radioed in. "Turner here. We've got something in the woods. Sending coordinates. Main house is clear. Matz is in custody. We found photos and files, but no kid." "Then I think we found the place." Backup arrived. They pried open the hatch, revealing a wooden ladder into darkness. The air was foul. Flashlights on, weapons drawn, Caleb descended first, Bones behind him. At the bottom, a narrow hallway carved into the earth, plywood walls, dirt floor. A battery lantern flickered. Then, a cough. They turned the corner. In a small room, curled on a mattress, was a boy. He looked up, shielding his eyes. "Milo," Caleb said gently. The boy flinched. Caleb holstered his weapon, crouched. "It's okay, buddy. You're safe. I'm a police officer. This is Bones." Bones stepped forward, then sat, letting the boy see him. Milo blinked, then slowly reached out, touching the dog's head. Tears welled up. "I want to go home." "You will," Caleb promised. The boy was shaken, dirty, hungry, but alive. They brought him up, wrapped him in a blanket. Bones refused to leave his side, so they rode together to the hospital. Milo leaned against Bones, who stayed perfectly still, eyes forward. At the hospital, a doctor checked him. Minor dehydration, a healing bruise, no immediate signs of abuse. Milo finally spoke. "He said I wasn't the first," the boy whispered. "Said I was number 7. Caleb's blood ran cold. That night, Caleb sat in the station, staring at the growing map of crimes. 7 locations, 7 kids. They'd found 2. 5 were still out there. He looked at Bones, stretched out on the floor, eyes half closed but alert. Caleb scratched behind his ears.
"We're not done, are we, boy?"
Bones blinked slowly. In the silence, Caleb knew they'd only uncovered the edge of something much bigger. Caleb sat in the back of the FBI's mobile command trailer, surrounded by laptops, phones, agents moving like bees. The air smelled of burnt coffee and printer toner. Screens showed maps, photos, timelines, a network taking shape. 7 locations, 2 boys found, 1 man in custody, 5 still missing. Someone had called it Operation Red Door. Caleb hated how neat that sounded, like it could be filed away and forgotten. But Milo's eyes wouldn't be forgotten. A tech analyst tapped his shoulder. "You'll want to see this." Caleb followed her to a table where 2 agents hovered over an evidence box. Inside were the journals from Millersville, handwritten logs, initials, dates, payment figures, coded drop sites. Most were by Jared Lorne, but one entry stood out. 97 delivery confirmed. MJ held 6 days. Transferred to RM. Next pickup, KG in process. Watch the church lot. Red hoodie alone. Caleb's heart pounded. MJ was Milo Jameson. RM was Ronald Matz. But the last part, KG, a new target, a church lot. "Do we have timestamps?" he asked. That entry was 6 days ago. KG might be next or already gone. Caleb grabbed a folder, missing persons from the last 72 hours. First names starting with K. Within minutes, a match. Kaylee Grace Hudgens, age 9, last seen walking home from church in Freeport, Mississippi, 2 hours south. Brown hair, green eyes, red hoodie. Caleb exhaled. "He's got her." Mullins read over his shoulder. "Amber Alert's out, but the press hasn't picked it up. Then we move now. Every minute counts. They rolled out with 2 SUVs, 2 K9 units, 3 local officers, already scouting Freeport. The town was tiny. 1 blinking light, 1 post office, a gas station doubling as a bait shop. The church lot backed up to woods and an old gravel road leading to abandoned cabins. "Matt's used to be a trucker, right?" Caleb asked. "Yeah, long haul, like staying off-grid." Then he'd know places like this. By the time they reached Freeport, the sun dipped behind clouds. Sky washed orange. Bones whined in the back, then sat up, ears stiff, on alert. Caleb knew that sound. They pulled off the main road into the woods. The cabins were barely standing, most with collapsed roofs, but one had fresh tire tracks and a boot print. Bones jumped from the car before Caleb opened the door, sprinting to the back of the cabin, barking twice, then going still. The signal. "Federal agents! Come out with your hands up!" Caleb called. No answer. He stepped closer. Inside, a faint noise. A shuffle, something falling. They breached the door. The inside was dark, smelled of mildew and sweat. A lantern on the floor, still warm. No sign of Matt's. But in the corner, under a dirty blanket, was a little girl with green eyes and a red hoodie. "Kay," Caleb said softly. She looked up, wide-eyed, silent. "It's okay. You're safe now." She stared, frozen, until Bones sat in front of her. She reached out, touching his fur, then started crying, soft at first, then all at once. Caleb knelt beside her. "We've got you. You're going home." As they brought her out, she squinted, then whispered, "Is he gone?" "He's not coming back," Caleb promised. They rushed her to the hospital. Bones rode in the back, head in her lap. She never let go of his collar. Doctors confirmed she was okay. Tired, shaken, but unharmed. Another miracle. But something still felt wrong. Matt's was gone, and he wouldn't go far without a reason. Later, an FBI agent pulled Caleb aside. "We found a phone. Burner, left behind on purpose." He handed it to Caleb, already unlocked. One thing on the screen, a photo. A boy, not Milo. Not K, maybe 8, sitting in a storage unit. Timestamp, 5 hours ago. File name, Unit 49B, Eagle Storage, Jackson, MS. A trap or a clue? Either way, he was next. Caleb looked at Bones. "You ready?" Bones stood. Tomorrow they'd go to Jackson. Tonight they'd rest. This was no longer just a case. It was a race, and time was running out. The drive to Jackson was long and silent. No music, no radio, just the hum of tires and the occasional shift of Bones in the back. The image from the burner phone haunted Caleb. A boy on a bare mattress, a number on the wall. Unit 49B. Eagle Storage sat on the industrial edge of Jackson, between old repair shops and a junkyard. No cameras, no security after dark, just rows of padlocked units baking in the sun. They arrived as the sky turned purple. Caleb parked a block away, approaching on foot, Bones at his side. Mullins and the FBI circled the back, moving like shadows. Unit 49B was in the far corner, tucked between rusted doors. From the outside it looked ordinary, but Bones knew better. He growled, hackles up, nose twitching, pulling toward the door. "He's in there," Caleb whispered. They waited for the breach order. A bolt cutter snapped the lock. The door rolled up, and Caleb rushed in, flashlight cutting the dark. The smell hit him, stale air, mildew, something sour. In the back under a blanket was the boy from the photo. He looked up, blinking. "Hey there," Caleb said softly. "You're safe. I'm Officer Turner. This is Bones." Bones walked over, sat near the boy, tail wagging, eyes calm. The boy didn't speak, just reached out, touching Bones's shoulder. Another miracle. They wrapped him in a blanket, carried him to the ambulance. He still hadn't spoken, but Caleb recognized the look. Someone trying to believe it was over. As they left, Caleb noticed a second mattress in the unit. On it, an old backpack, granola bars, a flashlight, a spiral notebook, and a child's handwriting. 7 names. Milo, Kay, Ethan, and 4 more. One was crossed out. The boy they just rescued? No, someone else. Daniel, Caleb read. Mullins came up. We have 6 confirmed victims. That makes 7. Which means we're missing one. That night at the hotel, Caleb flipped through the notebook. Bones lay at his feet. "I thought we were done," he whispered. Bones flicked his ear. Caleb's phone buzzed. A message from the tech team. "We cracked the burner's location history. 1 ping in the last 24 hours. Fletcher's Bend, 2 hours north. Barely a dot on the map, but sometimes the smallest places hide the darkest secrets." Caleb grabbed his jacket. Bones followed. By sunrise they reached Fletcher's Bend. Mist hung over the road. The town felt forgotten. One diner, one church, a closed elementary school. The ping came from the school. Caleb pulled up to the fence. Bones sniffed, moving to the gym entrance. Inside, the smell was worse. Rot, dust, wet wood. The floor creaked. Bones stopped, pawed at a wall near the boiler room, barked once. Caleb stepped forward. The wall looked solid, but Bones insisted. Caleb found the outline of a trap door under peeling linoleum. He pried it open, shined his light inside. A ladder, another underground space, this one deeper, colder. He climbed down. The room was small, barely lit. In the corner sat a boy, about 10, dirty, skinny, eyes wide with fear. Caleb raised his hands. "It's okay. I'm here to help." The boy shook his head. "He's still here. He said if I made noise, he'd come back." Caleb listened. Then a creak above. Footsteps. Caleb drew his weapon. "Stay here." He climbed up just in time to see a figure running down the hall. "Stop!" Caleb shouted. He ran, Bones faster than a bullet. The man didn't get far. Bones tackled him near the stairs, pinning him. Caleb cuffed him. It was Matt's, dirty, sweating, cornered. "You think this stops anything?" Matt spat. "There's more. You'll never catch them all." Caleb stared at him. "No, but I caught you." They brought the boy up. His name was Daniel. Missing 3 months. Last seen on a road trip with a babysitter who turned out to be working with Matt's. He wasn't just another victim. He was the last one. Later at the station, Caleb pinned Daniel's photo next to the others. 7 kids all found all alive. 7 red doors, 7 second chances, and 1 dog who never stopped barking until everyone was home. That evening, Caleb took Bones to the park. Just the 2 of them. No radios, no phones, just quiet. He tossed a tennis ball. For once, Bones didn't chase it. He lay in the grass, rolled onto his back, looking at the sky. Caleb sat beside him. "Good job, partner." Bones licked his hand. For the first time in weeks, Caleb smiled. "Thank you for following this story. We know it's been a tough, emotional journey. But stories like this remind us that even in the darkest places, courage finds a way to break through. Now we want to hear from you. If you had a K9 partner like Bones, what would you name them? Do you believe animals have a 6th sense, especially in emergencies? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful, true-to-life K9 stories.